Hi, welcome to this module on verbal communication for umpires. First and foremost, we must understand that communication is about the receiver in the performance environment. If the receiver does not want to hear you, then you have your work cut out. Your role as an umpire is to find a way to communicate effectively with that player. All aspects of communication are crucial because there is very strong research evidence that suggests that what players think about your decisions is largely influenced by what they think about you. If you present characteristics and qualities that they like, then they are likely to be much more receptive to you and your decisions. Professor of Communication Pete Simmons from Charles Sturt University in Australia conducted a global research investigation across Europe, Australasia and Asia to find out what players really wanted from sports officials, and he found there to be three key characteristics. Players want officials to be competent, to dress smartly and to make smart decisions. This involves turning up on time and looking the part. Players want officials to be dependable, someone they can rely on, someone who can be resilient to pressures from players, coaches and the crowd. And thirdly, players want officials to be respectful, to talk to them as adults, not like a parent-child relationship, but to allow the players to have a voice and feel like their opinions are being valued. Crucially, at the heart of what we do as sports officials is to be fair, to be equitable towards both teams in the decisions that we make. Dr. Ian Cunningham conducted a research investigation with over 20 sports officiating managers in Australia to find out what they considered to be key verbal communication characteristics of sports officials. And he came up with a 4-stage model. Firstly, we need to have good personal qualities. So very similar to Professor Simmons' research, we need to be respectful of players, show an appreciation for what they're trying to achieve. We need to be polite and courteous, showing that we are collaborative in our approach with players. We need to be approachable, have a friendly attitude so that players feel that they can come and approach us and be listened to. We need to be self-assured, assertive but not overly authoritative. Crucially, we need to show integrity, to show that we are fair, honest and trustworthy in the decisions that we make and the way that we communicate them. And we need to show humility, to be able to recognise our mistakes when we make them. Here's a really nice example of an official showing humility, recognising her mistake. And if you listen very carefully, you might just hear the player apologising.
Play if you can. Okay, there's no advantage from that one. Emily, back there for me. I played a shocking advantage, that'll do, yeah.
And officials who are not well received are those who are domineering, dictatorial, arrogant, dismissive and overly familiar. The next stage is one-way communication, and this is about how you present yourself to multiple audiences. It's about impression management and selling yourself and selling your decisions. So physically, we need to be relaxed, assured and confident in our body language, but verbally, we need to be clear, accurate and concise. Have a look at this example from hockey, where the umpire presents good one-way communication by providing the reasoning for her decision.
Obstruction, you missed the ball, you went through the player. She had no opportunity then to play the ball. It's a short corner.
Here's an example from rugby union. Remember we talked about not talking down to players as a parent would to a child. This just creates resentment. We need to talk on an adult to adult level.
The law is quite clear. The ball is formed, held up, unplayable, turn of a ball, no issues whatsoever. I don't think we've met before, but I'm the referee on this field, not you. Stick to your job and I will do mine. If I hear you shouting for anything again, I'm going to be penalising you. This is not soccer. Is that clear? Back you go and get on with the game.
While this seems to work for this referee in this situation, perhaps because of his use of humour, it's not something we'd recommend. It's better to talk on an adult to adult level, so that you're treating the players as your equal.
Yep. Okay, to me it looks like it's come up off your stick, okay? I am right here, that's what I've seen. 30 seconds, Grace. I know it's frustrating, but that's what I've seen.
Higher up the pyramid is situation monitoring. This is your ability to read player intentions and their emotional and behavioural displays. It's reading their facial expressions and their body language and how it changes through the course of a game. Your ability to do this allows you to interact with the players before that game reaches boiling point. It's a bit like emotional intelligence, being able to read players and understand what emotional state they're in. In effect, the sports official becomes a barometer for the status of the game, how intense it is and how players are feeling. In this situation, the official has noticed something in the game that he wants to manage. Notice that he is calm and self-assured, and he has a clear exit point. He knows what he wants to finish with.
Go on. Come on. Keep close. Let me look after this, yeah? Come on. A couple of times. Just looks as though you're holding on to Tom a little bit too much for me, yeah? Just keep those hands down. Mark him by all means, but not physically, okay?
I agree, but...
A good example of situation monitoring in cricket. If you have a bowler who's starting to encroach on the protected area, you may have a discreet word with him, or perhaps you'd speak to the captain just to explain that this is something that we're working on, so that if you do have to make a decision, it's not a surprise. At the top of the pyramid is skilled interaction. This involves interactions to explain decisions to ensure that the players have a mutual understanding as to what's taken place. We know from research that people are more likely to judge procedures as being fair when they're given an opportunity to express their feelings. So being heard is a really important part of player perceptions of fairness. We need to be flexible in our approaches, recognising that different players in the same situation require managing differently. And we need to speak to players on a level, because if a power differential exists, this may have an adverse effect upon the game. Take a look at this clip and decide what you would say to the captain if you were the lady umpire who made the decision that she wasn't happy with.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about it. Come to me and talk, because I think the same. Do you think she touched it twice?
Yes.
I think she did as well. Right, okay. Captain! Get Kaylee for me.
Kaylee!
Captain! Captain! Captain!
Take a few seconds to decide what you would say and write it down.
Not going to lie, but I want to explain it to you clearly. We both think gut reaction was absolutely 100% certain. She did a double touch, 1, 2, and then took the stroke. So it's not a goal, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to go a free out defence, okay? Take a minute, explain it to your team, Kaylee.
Don't take bats up, bats backing.
Notice that the umpire indicates the certainty of her decision. She explains that both officials agree and then provides a clear explanation of the reasoning for her decision. Finally, she asks the captain to inform the rest of her teammates so that there's no confusion as to what decision has been made. So here's a really good example of skilled interaction taken from rugby union. Wayne Barnes dealing with a couple of England internationals.
The touch judge let him down. Wayne Barnes had to take control. Brilliant.
Both of you, come here. Come here now. We have an example to set for the game. As captains and the members of the England side, okay? You have examples. We are not going to start raising our voices, shouting and pointing. What I'm going to do, now let me explain. If the touch judge is unsure whether in the act of scoring the ball was in touch, I'm going to check whether or not it was in touch. It's exactly the same as in the first half when Mr. Colmore said to me, can you check? And I will. So I will do that, okay? Time on.
So a good example there, recognising that the players are starting to bicker with each other and cutting in and not allowing that conversation to go any further. And crucially, what Wayne does really well is take control of the conversation. He allows no more communication coming back at him from the players, and he decides when that conversation is going to finish. And whilst one of the players is still talking to him at the end, he's not interested in listening at that point. He's got his point across, he's shown that he's fair and equitable by doing what he did in the first half and saying, I'm going to do exactly the same again here, and he's terminated the conversation on his terms. Interestingly, if you speak to Wayne about that situation, he'll be very critical of his performance. Both of you, come here now. He'd say that he lost it.
He has taken on board how he responded in that situation, which most people would say was pretty outstanding, and he's always looking to improve himself, and that's one of the top characteristics of elite officials. Being a top flight official, you need a unique set of characteristics in that you need to have the strength and confidence to portray the message with clarity and precision, but you also need to have a lot of humility to be able to take on board criticisms, and that's crucial if you're going to make it to the top. The way in which you can do that, peer feedback is a great opportunity because you've got peers who are working at a similar performance level to you. But developing a framework through which you're trying to develop your skills is going to be really helpful. So use the performance model, the personal qualities, the one-way communication, the situation monitoring and the skilled interaction, and break those down. So take those personal qualities, rate certain interactions on respectfulness, on approachability, on empathy. Look at how domineering and fussy you become. And they're the characteristics that the players don't want to see.
And using that terminology and those frameworks is the starting point.